All right, I guess it's time, huh? So good morning, assemblers. My name is Alex, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Sunday Assembly Silicon Valley. So I'm a long-term SASV member, but you'd usually see me as part of the band, typically drumming, sometimes singing. But today I am the MC. And, hi, I'm so glad you're here. And we are all so glad you're here. And let's get rolling. So today, like we always do, we're going to start with a song. So be aware that you are muted and we can't hear you if you're going to sing, but we really do hope that you sing along. So if you're into it, you could even stand up, maybe dance. And if you've got your camera on, we can see you, and that's exciting, and feel the interpersonal energy happening. So yeah, we love to see that if you're feeling it. So today the first song is I Want to Hold Your Hand, which you might know, a Beatles song, and the video editing was done by Ben.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you something I think you'll understand when I say that something. I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand. Oh please say to me, you'll let me be your man. And please say to me, you'll let me hold your hand, you'll let me hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. And when I touch you, I feel happy inside. It's such a feeling that my love I can't hide, I can't hide, I can't hide. Yeah, you got that something I think you'll understand when I say that something. I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand. And when I touch you, I feel happy inside. It's such a feeling that my love I can't hide, I can't hide, I can't hide. Yeah, you got that something I think you'll understand when I say that something. I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand.
Jazz hands. Thank you so much for that, band, and thank you so much for that video editing, Ben. That was cute. That was like I really like that video editing. And thank you all of you for dancing and singing at home. All right, so Sunday Assembly started in London in 2013, and our chapters are all over the world. We strive to build a community of people that inspire one another to live better. This is the motto of Sunday Assembly: live better, help often, and wonder more. We're a secular community encouraging everyone to follow their own inner journey and celebrate the one life that we know that we have. So our chapter holds monthly assemblies such as this one. We also have small groups, focusing on particular special interests to help build connections, maybe around hobbies or particular activities that you like. We aspire to create an open community where we can belong and participate and make friends. If this is your first time joining a Sunday Assembly, then welcome and congratulations. Please accept this virtual high five. Boop. And we owe you a real one once we can resume our in-person assemblies when we get there. If this is your second time, everybody is happy that you came back, and you deserve 2 high fives. Ready? Boop, Boop. Thank you. I hope that you'll recognize some faces, and I hope that you remember some of the folks that you met on your first time. And if not, then you'll come back again, right? Keep meeting people. So our next segment is our creative space. We have a reading from Kent Keltner, who is going to share some of his personal experiences and 2 poems that relate to those personal experiences. So please take it away, Kent.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, hopefully. So one of the things I enjoy doing is traveling for concerts and such. And part of the experience is not just so much the event itself, but I feel it's the social aspect of hanging out afterward with friends and going out for a good meal and just, getting a good share of the whole thing. So what I wanted to do was share a haiku and a poem. So just 1 second. Sorry. All right. And here. Okay. So the poem is My Favorite Foods. I can eat my favorite breakfast alone. Eggs cooked all the way I've loved them all my life. But breakfast always tastes a little better when I eat next to my wife. I can eat my favorite lunch alone, a Philly cheesesteak that never ends. But lunch always tastes a little better when I'm eating it with friends. I can eat my favorite dinner alone, a steak and potato cooked just for me. But dinner always tastes a little better when I eat it with my family. I can eat cake on my birthday alone. I can sing happy birthday, sing my name, but without people gathered around me, that cake wouldn't taste the same. Yes, I can eat food on myself and know that I will thrive, but when I eat with friends and family, I know that I'm alive. I once thought my taste buds decided my favorite foods, but perhaps that's just a myth. Perhaps that's what makes this my favorite food is who I'm eating with. 1 second. And then the haiku that I thought was fitting to the theme is sharing a good meal has nothing to do with friends, all to do with friends. So I thought they were fitting, and I lost the window. And so that's what I wanted to share. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, Kent, thank you for that. That was really moving. All right. So next up, we have got our guest speaker, who is a member of our own congregation. This is Andrei Zaharescu. And Andrei will tell us a little bit about himself. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about Andrei. So Andrei is a machine learning engineer and athlete and a generally interesting person. And he is going to tell us about his journey with intermittent fasting. And so please, everybody give a warm jazz hands welcome for Andrei.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the kind introduction. I wanted to add a couple more words about myself first. So I'm a lucky husband and thankful father of 2 amazing kids. They're ages 5 and 10. I grew up in Bucharest, Romania, and I moved to Toronto to attend university. Canada became my second home, and I took a detour to France for doctoral studies, lots of snowboarding and rock climbing. We later moved to Canada about 6 years ago, enticed by the amazing weather, nature, and job opportunities. Yeah, I'm really enjoying traveling, reading, hiking, running, biking, keeping healthy, board games, and good company. So today I'll be talking about the benefits of intermittent fasting. And let me try to share my slides. Sorry. Share. All right. So the benefits of intermittent fasting. Why am I talking about intermittent fasting to begin with? My wife has been dealing with some autoimmunity for the last 4 years, and she's tried various medical treatments and procedures, but nothing really helped out. One of her doctors suggested to try intermittent fasting to mitigate one of the drug side effects for what she was taking. In addition, I also was becoming pre-diabetic. My blood sugar reached 101 milligrams per deciliters. So that kind of prompted us to investigate intermittent fastings. And fast forward 6 months later, diet and intermittent fasting really helped my wife more than anything else. She stopped having these crashes and stopped taking any other drugs except for supplements. On my part, I shed the extra kilograms and I'm feeling a lot more energetic and out of the pre-diabetic range. I'm at 86 milligrams per deciliters now. And also we have a new superpower. We can actually skip a meal and actually nothing really happens. This is quite amazing. So let's first talk about what really happens when we eat. This is a really simplified view. So after we eat, eventually, as the digestion process starts, the blood sugar glucose levels go up. The insulin hormone that's secreted by the pancreas also goes up as well and is trying to tell the cells to consume the glucose, which is going to be used for energy. Now, the more simple carbs we're eating and sugars, the higher the glucose levels will be, same with the insulin levels, and they're going to stay like that longer. By simple carbs, I mean the good stuff like, pizza, good bread, pasta. And simple really refers to how long it takes for the body to break down to glucose. Now, part of this glucose is also stored by the liver as glycogen for easy access later on. And the excess glucose is stored as fat. Now, when it comes to using this stored up energy, the first thing that happens is your body will start using the glycogen from the liver. Think of this as kind of your kitchen fridge. So, that can last about 10 to 12 hours. It can provide your body with glycogen, enhanced glucose. When that's depleted, then your body is going to start burning fat cells for fuel, the so-called ketones and ketosis. And think of this process as kind of having a secondary basement deep freezer. They can only access once the first fridge is empty. And this can, provide nourishments to your body for many, many days, depending on how much, storage of fat you have. On this graph, I'm showing here kind of what happens after you have a meal, like you have your breakfast, lunch, and supper in this example. Here is the glucose levels. You see how they kind of go up as well as the insulin levels, how they spike. The more they spike, the more simple carbs they're having. Here, probably the person had a carby breakfast and a carby dinner. So the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the number of meals per day and how this number has changed over the years. So in 1978 or so, the average was really around 3. You can see here both for adult population and for children. And as we get closer to the 2000s, the average number gets closer to 6. And remember, after each meal and snack, your insulin levels will go up and they're going to stay up for a couple of hours. Why is really insulin bad for you? Well, as we already kind of established, we're spending most of our time in a high insulin regime these days. And insulin blocks the body from fat burning, from ketosis. Now, high insulin causes a bunch of problems. I'm listing here some of the most known ones. Frequent and intense hunger, for one. Excess cravings for sugar, weight gain, especially around your waist, fatigue, lack of motivation, anxiety, panic, insulin resistance, which actually leads to type 2 diabetes. In addition, complications from diabetes can lead to heart disease, nerve damage, eye damage, kidney damage, lower limb loss. Apparently, worldwide, every 30 seconds, a person is losing a limb to diabetes. That's a scary statistic. In US, we can see that there's been an increase in the rates of diabetes and obesity over time. Here I took 3 data points from the CDC, like raw data from 1990, 2008, and 18. And you see how the numbers go up. Now mentioning diabetes, there are 2 types of diabetes. There is the type 1 diabetes, which is caused by insulin deficiency. And that's when your pancreas does not secrete enough insulin. And that's really a lot less prevalent, about 15 times less prevalent than type 2. Type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance. So when your body, as I mentioned earlier, is exposed to too much insulin, eventually your cells are starting to become immune to it or less responsive to it. Another statistic that kind of brings the whole picture together is that 88% of Americans have some form of metabolic syndrome. And this I've taken from Robert Lustig's book that I recommend. Now, metabolic syndrome is a syndrome that encompasses diabetes as well as other issues such as hypertension, lipid abnormalities, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia. And here I just took a very simplified kind of diagnosis, just looking at fasting blood glucose levels. So if your level is less than 90, you're okay. An early onset is between 90 to 100. Pre-diabetic range is 100 to 126, and type 2 diabetic is over 126. In addition, about 75% of our healthcare dollars go to treat these issues related to metabolic syndrome. So what happens when we intermittent fast? So when you eat less frequently. Here in this graph, we have 3 eating patterns, the typical American diet, let's call it, an alternative day fast, and a time-restricted fast. And I'll cover each of them. So one thing that happens, 1 second, this is hard to... All right. So we can see here over time you have the glucose levels, which really are a proxy for insulin. Insulin is much harder to measure, so just think of this as being insulin as well. You see how your glucose level kind of tend to go up throughout the day. Now, and more importantly, your ketones, your fat burn is flat, is 0 or low. Now, when you do alternative day fasting, like the first day you haven't eaten anything, and then the second day you have 3 meals, you can see that your glucose stays low, and over time your ketones are starting to go up. And the second you start eating, your ketones are going to drop. A similar pattern can be observed during time-restricted feeding. So you're going to get a bit of ketosis happening and then dropping. Here, the person is having 3 meals within a 6-hour window. So what intermittent fasting does is really is decreasing your overall duration of high insulin levels in your body. And it's really forcing your body to start using some of the stored energy. Some of the other long-term benefits of intermittent fasting are fast results with type 2 diabetes. So people that have been on insulin for 11 years, they can actually get fully off it after 2 weeks. For more information, and in general, I recommend the book by the Canadian nephrologist Jason Fung called Complete Guide to Fasting. Another thing that is quite miraculous, I didn't know about this before I started researching the topic, is this phenomenon called autophagy. It's a process that kicks in after about, well, it starts a bit earlier, but it really kicks in at around hour 36 of fasting. And it triggers self-destruction of the older age cells, turning them into fuel for the rest of the body. Kind of like a garbage collection for the human virtual machine. Excuse the geek joke here. It also triggers new cell creation via the stem cells from the bone marrow, basically a process of rejuvenation. It also improves your brain health, counters fatty livers, maintains gut integrity, reduces heart aging, lowers inflammation. Basically, it extends your life. There are some references that I have included at the end. Here, I took a couple of snapshots from Jason Fung's book showing some of the studies that show a drop in insulin levels over time, while intermittent fasting, here you have 1, 3, and 6 months. You can also see that that doesn't do as well when you just do calorie restriction. Here is another study showing kind of the same, a standard diet, a low carb diet, and fasting and insulin levels. Another interesting plot I wanted to show is every other day fasting nearly doubles lifespan in rats. The study was using male rats for some reason. And here you can see the regular eating pattern, like the regular group. On the x-axis, you have the age in weeks on both graphs. And on the y-axis here, you have the percentage of survivors. So for the regular group, once you hit about 80 weeks or so, you got about 50% of your population for regular diet starting to die. And for the every other day, that goes to around 140. Here you can see their weight over time. So the control group tends to have a higher weight over time than the every other day group. So how to intermittent fast? There are various regimens, and I'm going to list a couple of them and going to tell you a bit more about what works for us. The time restricted one that we adopted is the 18-6. So basically you fast for 18 hours and you eat within a 6-hour window. We skip breakfast and we had lunch and dinner in that 6-hour window. And very important, we don't have any snacking. Remember, the goal is to minimize your insulin spikes over time. There are other regimens such as the 5-2, the twice a week. Also the every other day, where you skip one day and you just eat regular the next day. Some benefits can be observed, not doing an 18-6, but trying more gradually. For example, you can do a 14-10. It's a good stepping stone. It also shows some benefits. Also, intermittent fasting might not be for everybody. People with a history of eating disorders, less than 18 years old, while the body is still growing, pregnant women, underweight. In general, I think it's a good idea to consult a doctor and read more if you're really taking any medication and you're like, want to try this out. Some of the other things that I see them as value add and sustainable. You do not have to calorie restrict when you eat. This is really sustainable long-term, unlike any calorie restriction diet that has been shown that, on average, people revert to the mean after a couple of years. The most amazing part is that you will actually not feel hungry once your body adjusts. And this was my initial reaction when I thought about it. It's like, oh, that means I'm going to starve myself to, for forever. And it's really not like that. So what happens is that your liver adapts to synthesize glucose from fats at a steady rate through this process called gluconeogenesis, which literally means making glucose neogenesis birth. So our bodies, if you think about it, they have been built for feasting and fasting. The longest registered water fast was over 300 days. Some of the hints and advice from our experience that I wanted to share with the community. One is drink lots of liquids. Water, tea, and coffee are all fine. For longer fasts, such as 48 hours, you can make some bone broth. Track your progress. I suggest a journal, a calendar, or an app. I used Way of Life. Track your weight. I suggest getting a smart scale that pairs with your phone and get these graphs for free. Do a daily meditation. Focusing your breath and simply observing your body kind of helps you be more mindful of these cravings and your reactions. See if you can convince your partner to do it with you. Two grown-ups can really help each other here. Also, replace snacking during classical activities. For example, TV for me was the hardest. And replace it with something special, like a special drink, ideally not alcohol. In my case, I was making a fancier tea than usual. Also, we had a rule like that we tried to implement as a family to only eat at the table. Kind of helped with kids a bit. And overall, the hardest thing about intermittent fasting, I would say, is the actual decision to do it. Here, I'm just showing a very quick kind of fasting log of what happened. Like the first week was the hardest. I cut down a bit on carbs. I noticed that in the mornings I was dizzier and I was feeling a bit weaker and I was sometimes hangry. The second week, I noticed some improvements, but it still took willpower. And by the third week, my body kind of adjusted. The dizziness subsided. I did not feel hungry anymore in the mornings, and my strength was back. And this has been going on for 6 months with 1 day break for New Year's Eve. And as you can also see in the plot here, my weight has been going down over time, and my glucose levels are also looking much better, out of pre-diabetic range. Overall, I kind of see this as a life hacking sandwich where intermittent fasting is one slice of it or one layer of it. I guess one of the more important ones that I haven't really touched in my talk much is really diet. And I could, can spend too much time talking about that, but basically I'm trying to have no sugar and no processed foods or minimize those. Focus more on vegetables, nuts, fruits, natural form. If consuming meat or dairy or fish, try to get it in as much of a natural form, like pasture raised, not corn fed. Since you don't really want to eat meat from animals that have metabolic syndrome. Try not to optimize just for taste. That has been really hacked by the big food industry at this point. I've already covered intermittent fasting. Exercise, again, it helps increasing the efficiency of the fuel burning. And when you stack it with intermittent fasting, so when you exercise in a fasted state, you get added benefits, research shows. And last is mental health. So daily meditation is something that I've also incorporated, and I have been doing it for the last 7 months, 8 months or so. Here, I'm listing a bunch of references that are for you to kind of explore further if you want. Jason Fong's book that I recommended is listed here about fasting, but I would start with this talk. It's a really great 1 hour talk on YouTube, and I think it can open the doors to explore further. I've listed a blog entry that I've written where I also upload the slides. Robert Lustig's book on Metabolic is really about processed foods. Mark Mattson, the neuroscientist from Johns Hopkins, is really has a great number of papers and talks, and he just came out with a book. I would also recommend checking out David Sinclair's work called the book called Lifespan, and he has a video podcast on the topic. He's really a professor in genetics at Harvard, and he's really interested in reverting or delaying aging, and he identified as intermittent fasting as a key ingredient there. Also, Douglas Isle has a book called The Pleasure Trap. He's a clinical psychologist at the True North Health Center here in Santa Rosa. And he's trying to help people that want to do like longer term fasts, like a week or two, for even a more of a body reset, kind of getting the autophagy to really work hard. I think I'll leave it here. With this, I will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, Andre, thank you so much for that. So Andre will be available for questions at the end of the assembly at the speakers table breakout room. That was really good. Thank you. Thank you. So next we have a song, which is You Can't Hurry Love, as done by the Supremes, and Elizabeth edited this video. So let's go right to the song.
I need love, love to ease my mind. I need to find someone to call mine. But Mama said you can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of give and take. You can't
Nice. Jazz hands. Thank you, band. Thank you, Elizabeth, for editing the video. And thank you at home. I saw some fantastic dancing. Everybody was getting into it. Really appreciate it. Fantastic. So our next segment is the Doing Your Best segment, where a community member will share a personal story about how they are doing their best. So today, just to let you know, this could be you. You could be giving a doing your best spot, and we'll, give you that opportunity later. But today it's Elizabeth, and Elizabeth Feig is going to tell us about how she is doing her best. So take it away, Elizabeth.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andre, for your talk. It was so interesting. I have never thought about doing intermittent fasting, but I mean, I don't know if I still will, but it was very interesting because I always think of like food as giving me energy. So who knew that you could actually get energy from not eating as much. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I've been attending Sunday Assembly since 2014 with my husband, John, and kids who are 6 and 4 now. I don't know where the last 2 years went. I also joined the music team sometime in 2015. And while I miss our live music, I've really been enjoying recording and making music videos. I last gave an update on how I'm doing back in May of 2019, pre-pandemic. I spoke about the hardships of being a parent with anxiety. There have been so many new challenges and changes because of COVID, but I'm proud of how my family has persevered, and my kids have been able to continue attending their schools with modifications and still playing with friends. I was excited to hear that this month's assembly was going to be about living healthier. I'm happy to be talking to you today because this is what I've been trying to improve the most over the last few months. Like it was for so many of us, the first few months of 2020 were scary and strange, and it led to unhealthy habits for John and I. We cooked more, but not always the healthiest foods, snacked more often. And then later on, we would get more takeout because John was working at home and didn't have the luxury of all the healthy options at Google. And then before bed, we would make a cocktail, have a glass of wine or a beer or two. Then, of course, the pounds packed on, but we also didn't feel great. Neither one of us had much energy, but I admit it was nice to have an excuse to eat and drink more. I think I just had the mindset of when this is all over, we'll go back, but I didn't want to wait for that. So fall of 2021, I decided it was time to change some things. John had been telling me about this workout program called Supernatural on the Oculus Quest virtual reality headset. And I finally decided to try it out. I was hooked from day one, and I've been doing it for 6 months. It's a full body cardio and strength training workout that I'm able to do in my living room while the kids are home. It's fun and keeps me motivated. All it takes is 30 minutes a day to sweat and get my heart rate up. I mostly just feel better knowing I'm taking care of my heart. John also recently found out he had high cholesterol. So we started making dietary changes a month ago. Nothing too drastic, just more veggies and beans, less sugar, and less red meat. I have limited myself to only alcohol on the weekend and no snacking at night. It's been much easier than I expected. If I can recognize the foods I want to be putting into my body most of the time, it's okay to go off track once in a while, and I don't need to feel guilty about that. Now, getting my kids to lay off sugar is still a work in progress. Thank you.
All right, nice. Thank you, Elizabeth. And yeah, no, that's important, right? This is the topic of the assembly today, is taking active steps to manage our own lives and our health. So we would like to hear from any or all of you, especially about what inspires you to live better, help often, and wonder more. And you can find out how to share your personal story by sending a message to the email address, which is being dropped in the chat right now. Is it being dropped in the chat? Anyway, there'll be an email address that will be dropped in the chat, and you can email that and you can share your story. So we are especially interested, what would you like to see at an upcoming Sunday Assembly? Do you have an idea for a guest speaker? Do you want to be the guest speaker? Do you have an idea for a poem or a reading or telling a story? Would you like to record a song and share it during the creative space segment? All of these things are possible. You can do these things. So please let us know using the email address in the chat. So we would like to promote mindfulness, and we want to take a moment to meditate and reflect on our state of being. We are going to take a 2-minute meditation break with some relaxing nature sounds. Steve recorded this. This is the dawn chorus of birds and animals and stuff at the Sierra Valley Marsh in June of 2012. This location was at the headwaters of the Feather River and hosts a large assortment of migrating birds and frogs and cows. So please enjoy it, and we will see you back in 2 minutes. Nice nature. You know, I noticed in the description of that video that there were coots, and one critical thing that I learned recently is what a coot is. I moved recently, and there's a pond near my new house, and in the pond there's coots, and now I know the difference between which ones are coots and which ones are ducks, and it's important to know these things. It's critical things we've learned. Okay, so it's time for our Life Happens, where we share updates about our triumphs and our difficulties and our struggles and our joys and silly puns, if we would like to share those. So if you'd like to contribute to Life Happens right now, there's still time to share that via the chat. Our lives are full of events, both pleasant and unpleasant. Sharing heightens our joys and makes our pain easier to bear. Bear it together. At times we face challenges that overwhelm us. A good community understands that we aren't perfect and that our lives are also not perfect. So that's why we strive to make a community a place where we can share our difficulties as well as our joys, where we can spread compassion with our people in our community, and where no matter what you're going through right now, you feel welcomed and accepted and loved. So here's Richard with Life Happens to bring us all of our news.
Okay, I'm going to start with some joys to mention the 4 assemblers who have birthdays in February. Those are Gordon Smith, who was almost one of our founders, Sean Shee, who also organizes at Sunday Assembly East Bay, Andre's son Lucas, I think you saw him in that little picture, and Ben and Aiko's baby Cedar, who turns 2 today. Happy birthday, Cedar! Moving along to the announcements, so to speak. First, from Fausto. I moved to Seattle, and I will be missing you all and the sun and warm Bay Area. Ping me if you are ever up here. From Josh. After watching way too much YouTube every single day, I gave it all up this week. 7 days clean, hours of my life back. Well, wow. Congratulations, Josh. That's an achievement. Krista and David stopped eating for 14 hours a day, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., after learning about intermittent fasting from Andre and doing more research. Krista is also exercising before breakfast. It was uncomfortable at first, but now it's easy. Yep. You know, guys, I try to get out these days for a walk before breakfast. It used to be just a ride to the train station. Now it's more fun. Let me just check the chat. That's my final duty here. Because if you don't input your updates through the Google form, except telling Fausto we'll miss him. Oh, John has changed to Fitbit from Nest. This is almost a treasonous act because Google owns Nest, and I don't think does Google own Fitbit? Wait a moment. It wouldn't surprise me if Google did own Fitbit. But John's still at Google. That's the good news. Okay, so that's this month's news from our members, families, and friends.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Richard. And congratulations to people who are having congratulations kind of things. And happy birthday, Cedar. That's fantastic. So this assembly is not the only event that we run. There are multiple activities every month, and they're all currently on Zoom. But let's talk about what those events are. So we have, you can find all of the events that we have. They're all listed on Meetup. So here you can see what the SMOOPs are. We have our Compassionate Listening SMOOP, which is run by Raji. We have our Action Team meeting, and we have our Open Board meeting and the Values Roundtable, in the Virtual Happy Hour, and Sing Along Online. Sing Along Online is the event where we get ready to do the music for the upcoming next month's Sunday Assembly. So what this is where we, get ready to make those videos. Yeah, so we would especially like to invite you to the Action Team meeting and the Open Board meeting. Particularly, we are interested in having more people get involved with the Action Team. And ideally, eventually, we could use more board members if you would like to be a board member of Sunday Assembly. All right. And our next assembly is on March 13th. So it's the second Sunday of the month, like it always is. And we would really appreciate it if you would obviously come to that, but also invite somebody to come with you. And one of the things, this was just posted in the chat, one of the things that's needs to be decided is when are we going to go back to in-person? And obviously we want that to get discussed by the board and the Action Team, and that'll be discussed at the next Action Team meeting All right. And there's just been a link posted in the chat, which is a survey about the upcoming Sunday Assembly International Conference, which will be happening here in NorCal. So if you are interested in that, please click on the link in the chat for the survey about whether you'd like to go to that. All right. So, so many people have volunteered to make today's assembly happen. We'd like to thank all of those people. Particularly, we'd like to thank our presenters. So Andre with the talk, and Elizabeth and Kent and Richard for their particular contributions. We'd like to thank all of the volunteers who came to the action team meetings. We'd like to thank the tech team. And we'd like to, for running the show. We'd like to thank the writers of the newsletter and people who are doing the social media, everybody who contributed Life Happens events, and the music team. So thank you so much to everybody. And, you know, volunteers make Sunday Assembly run. It's crucial. It's a volunteer run organization. And thank you to you for showing up. You are Sunday Assembly. Thank you for being here. So that's all the announcements for right now. Except for that, Sunday Assembly is also run on donations. So if you want to donate, I think there'll be a link for how to donate. If you want to stay in touch with us between meetings, so we have a chat email group, and you can find the address to subscribe to that chat email group in the Zoom chat. As mentioned previously, one of the most important things that we're going to talk about at the upcoming action meeting is when we're going to go back to in-person. And many of us have been really missing meeting in person, but we don't want to do it until it's safe to do so. And obviously we're going to take all the possible precautions that we can, because we don't want to get anybody sick. So that will be discussed at the upcoming action team meeting on Tuesday, February 15th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So if you could come to that, that'd be fantastic. And, you know, everything that you can do to help Sunday Assembly is very helpful. So, you know, getting involved is good both for the community, but also hopefully emotionally good for you, so that you feel, you know, part of the community, you feel like you're helping, binds us all together and gives us something to do. That's pretty good. So today's talk, I think, was pretty exciting. It's a nice reminder about how we can make tweaks to our own lives. We can like take active steps to adjust ourselves. Maybe small changes, you know, that we can make might make some significant difference. And it might not be obvious or intuitive, like immediately, how best to do these things, but, you know, we can do research, we can do experimentation on ourselves, we can find out what's best for us. And I think this same principle, you know, scales up not just to individual people, but to groups of people, you know, to communities or families, or even like large societies. So things could be better, you know, in a person's life. Things could be better in a group of people. And it's important to remember that like change is possible. We can make conscious and active choices about what we could change about ourselves and our groups. Sometimes it takes experimentation, sometimes it takes research, sometimes it takes a little bit of resolve, or even, you know, willpower, discipline to make yourself try it. But, you know, with time, you can build new habits. You can tweak your own behavior, tweak your steady state. And building habits is it's something that you can do. You can change yourself, as a lot of people are talking about, you know, in the Life Happens. People are building different fitness habits. They're building different time management habits. It's possible. And that's just one way in which we can live better. So we have one more song for today. And our last song is a Michael Bublé song, Haven't Met You Yet, and Elizabeth made the video. So here we go.
not surprised, not everything lasts. I've broken my heart so many times I stopped keeping track. Talk myself in, I talk myself out. I get all worked up, then I let myself down. I tried so very hard not to lose it. I came up with a million excuses. I thought of every possibility. And I know someday that it'll all turn out. You'll make me work so we can work to work it out. And I promise you, kid, that I'll give so much more than I get. I just haven't met you yet. I might have to wait, I'll never give up. I guess it's half timing and the other half's luck. Wherever you are, whenever it's right, you'll come out of nowhere and into my life. And I know that we can be so amazing. And baby, your love is gonna change me. And now I can see every possibility. And somehow I know that it'll all turn out. And you'll make me work so we can work to work it out. And I promise you, kid, I'll give so much more than I get. I just haven't met you yet. They say all's fair in love and war, but I won't need to fight it. We'll get it right and we'll be united. And I know that we can be so amazing. And being in your life is gonna change me. And now I can see every single possibility. And someday I know it'll all turn out. And I'll work to work it out. Promise you, kid, I'll give more than I get. Than I get, than I get, than I get. Oh, you know it'll all turn out. And you'll make me work so we can work to work it out. And promise you, kid, to give so much more than I get. Yeah, I just haven't met you yet. I just haven't met you yet. Oh, promise you, kid, to give so much more than I get. I said love, 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 love. I just haven't met you yet. So good day. I just haven't met you yet.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you so much, Krista and Elizabeth, for singing that. And who edited that video? That was Elizabeth, right? Yes. Thank you, Elizabeth, for editing that video. So just one more time, I want to thank the band broadly and the video producers. And again, thank you for being here. So before we go, we want to review the Sunday Assembly motto, and that is live better, help often, and wonder more. So what I would like is for everybody to say the motto in unison with enthusiasm together, like as our benediction. Are we ready? Let's say it all at once in unison. On the count of three, ready? 1, 2, 3. Live better, help often, wonder more. Fantastic. All right. So this concludes our main program, but we would like to invite you to hang out for a while in the breakout rooms for conversation tables. So Andre will be available for questions in our speakers table breakout room. And if you need help navigating the breakout rooms, feel free to ask Steve. who can move you around if you are not comfortable using that particular Zoom feature. So if you're looking for an icebreaker, the question that we want you to engage with is, what was one of your favorite meals that you've ever had and why? So thank you so much for coming. And please remember to stack your chairs, and we'll see you at a conversation table. Steve, are you ready to open the conversation tables?
They should be ready.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.